All right, we are live for the Tuesday, April 12th edition of the MMAOB Daily Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin. I'm joined by my co-host, as always, on Monday and Tuesdays here, Mr. Big Marcel. Marcel,
Hey
what's going
man,
on, man?
everything good, man. How about you?
Not bad. Well, you just dropped off, Marcel. Hopefully you come back on. That's awkward. We just started the podcast, now Marcel is not here. Yeah, it looks like there's some issues with YouTube today, guys. So hopefully that doesn't affect the podcast because we obviously want to go through these fights. Marcel is here. He just dropped off the channel. I don't know where he went, but he should come back in a second. But yeah, looks like there's like a global issue with YouTube today. So it's not just me that's having this. It's just like the sidebars down or something like that. So, anyways, it won't affect today's show. But I don't know where Marcel just went. Where did this guy go? This is kind of awkward. He just was here. Let me message him again, guys. Where are you? Where is this guy? There he is. All right, there he is. Joe, what's up, man? In the chat, Marcel, what happened? You just dropped off by accident?
Yeah, I just got kicked out. I don't know.
Okay, well, we're gonna try to do this, but again, there's some issue with YouTube right now, so hopefully it's not a huge problem for the show. Anyways, we're gonna break down UFC Vegas 51, Marcel. I almost forgot which Vegas it was because we had the Columbus card, and that doesn't count as one of these, and I almost forgot. But yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of changes to the card. There's a new fight added today. We do have odds for it. Ange Lusa is coming to the UFC, fresh off his win over John Howard in ex-MMA. He's going to be taking on Lunar Lazez, the sniper, on Saturday. That's a short notice fight. Should be a great fight. But overall, I think we have 14 fights, right, Marcel? So what's your overall thoughts on the card?
Yeah, to be really honest,
be honest.
There are only maybe 3 or 4 fights I'm interested in. All the others are like I'm gonna watch for sure, but it's not like I'm super invested in this card. Same as next week. So, I mean, yeah. Honestly, it says enough that I'm actually very enthusiastic and very enthusiastic for the card or for the fight between Munir Lazez and Ange Lusa. That got added today. I think that's a great fight. But it's immediately one of the better fights of the card, in my opinion. I don't know how you look at it. Yeah,
I agree. No, I agree. What's up, Joseph? You're just saying about Luque. It's his first 5-round fight. Not only is it his first 5-round fight, this is his first headline in MMA, but I can't believe it's his first UFC main event. You've had fighters like Devin Clark, who's on this card. He's headlined a UFC card. Norma Dumont, Aspen Latif headlined UFC cards. Louis Smolka's headlined a UFC card. But this guy's never headlined a UFC card. It's pretty crazy. Bilal Muhammad is the second time, I believe, headlining a UFC card. And he's had, obviously, 5-round fights in, Titan FC and stuff. So, interesting fight. Anyways, looking forward to talking about these fights with you, Marcel. We'll start off with the bottom of the card, work our way up as always, guys. We pull up the odds, and we'll go through these fights one by one. As usual, let's start with the first fight of the night, Marcel. It is a bantamweight bout between Kevin Croom and Alatengheili, as they have his name here on UFC stats. The odds for this one, Marcel, for this fight, we have Haile Alateng minus 175, Kevin Croom plus 155. So go ahead and break down the fight.
Yeah, so it's actually between two guys who really need a win, I feel. I know how is it? Alatengheili won his first 2 fights. He had that fight of the night fight against Butcher Aldana, right? In his debut. Then what against Ryan Benoit? It's Ryan Benoit or Ryan Benoit? I never know.
Yeah.
That's because you also had Lance Benoit. So I'm yeah. I feel like Kevin Croom, he had that great debut against Rosewell Roberts that got overturned because of weed use or something, There's a great meme now with Kevin Croom. I think you saw it as the guy from Django Unchained. So he lost his last 2 fights against Alex Caceres, Brian Kelleher. It's difficult, man, because I think Alatengheili isn't a bad fighter at all. He fought against Casey Kenny, but he took so much damage, you know what I mean? And if you look at Kevin Croom, I don't think Kevin Croom is going to be a huge fighter in the UFC or whatever, but he ain't bad, Man, I have really difficulty to pick here somebody, but I'll go with my gut feeling, and I think Kevin Croom wins a decision.
This is an interesting fight, guys, to kick off the card. I'll tell you that right now because, Kevin Croom is dropping to 135. He has fought at 135 before, though. It's been 7 or 8 years. I checked his record today. He's fought there 2 or 3 times. He actually did okay there. I think he had a 2-1 record. He's actually, it's crazy. He fought Justin Gaethje at 159-pound catch weight 11 years ago and got slammed, knocked out. Crazy, right? Now he's fighting at 135. So if you look at this fight, he's 5'11" with a 73-inch reach compared to 5'5" with a 66-inch reach for Alatengheili. So he's going to have a massive height and reach advantage. Having said that, he did have a height and reach advantage against Brian Kelleher in his last fight, Marcel, and didn't go well for him. So just because he's got the size doesn't mean he'll necessarily win this fight. Although usually, again, when you see this kind of discrepancy, it does favor the bigger fighter. It's an interesting fight because the thing is, Alatengheili is more of like a wrestler, Marcel. If you look at his fights, he's more of a guy who wants to grapple you. And Kevin Croom obviously is a grappler. And I think probably a better grappler, to be honest with you. Striking wise, I'd say Alatengheili is probably slightly like a better striker, I guess. But Croom, he's shown probably more power throughout his career. Although he doesn't have a ton of it, he has knocked some guys down, including Roosevelt Robertson's debut before he choked him out. The guy has a ton of experience as well. They both have quite a bit of experience, actually. But Kevin Croom, he's coming up on 40 fights almost more so. He's had a lot of fights. Both come from good gyms, fight ready, and Glory. It's a difficult fight to call, but I'll tell you right now, I was watching back the fight with Gustavo Lopez. And that third round, I bet on Alatengheili in that fight, guys. And that third round, Gustavo was taking him down, and he had to grab the fence to stop the takedown, right? Croom is a really good grappler too, Marcel. He's one of those guys that gets you against the fence and keeps shoving you against the fence and trying to drag you down to the mat. I just have a feeling it might play out like that, where Croom's just so big and he's just pushing this guy against the fence and grabbing him and dragging him down a couple times and just basically winning by control. So I think it's a difficult fight to pick, honestly, but I am leaning slightly towards Kevin Croom like you, Marcel. I'm surprised you picked him as well, but looks like we have the same pick here, although, again, it's not a really confident underdog pick.
It didn't make you more confident in your pick when I said, because I'm also super 50-50.
It's a close. That's why I'm also taking him, because I think it is a 50-50 fight, and therefore you're getting plus 155. It's pretty good odds on a coin flip. But, again, it's a bit of a risky one because, he hasn't fought 135 in a while. And from what I saw he posted a picture on his Instagram today, he looks like he's getting down there, but, man, it's going to be a tough cut, I think, too. So, again, it's one of those fights I think you do want to see what he looks like on the scale, because he might have trouble making the weight. It's possibly, but overall, I got to go with him, Marcel. He's just so much bigger, and I don't think Alatengheili is a great striker. He's more of a grappler. I think, Croom, his grappling is probably a little bit better. That's what I'm kind of looking at this fight. So I guess we both have the same thoughts on this one, man. All right, let's go to the next fight here, guys. Women's strawweight bout, Istela Nunes against Sam Hughes. The odds for this one, we have Istela Nunes minus 210, Sam Hughes plus 175. Go ahead, Marcel, break down this one.
You go first with this one.
Yeah, I feel like this, honestly, guys, I think this card has a lot of tricky fights on it. And I think this one
exactly.
also is a bit tricky, because Sam Hughes has not performed very well in the UFC, right? 0-3, but I think she's fought 3 really good fighters. Tisha Torres, Loma Luke Booney, and Luana Pinheiro. Those are tough fights for anyone, I think. So that's why she's getting another fight. She's a decent grinder, and I think, maybe if she wrestles, she could potentially win this fight. But, Nunes, the good striker, obviously. The grappling's the whole. We saw that in the first fight with Carnelossi. That's why I liked her there. But Nunes does have quite a big experience, too, herself. And I think that, the striking level, I think she is a better striker. So if she keeps it standing, she'll win. I think Sam Hughes would be really smart to go for takedowns. The only thing is she hasn't even shot a takedown in the UFC yet, so, or she hasn't landed one, I should say. And I can't bank on her just becoming a great wrestler overnight. So I do think there's a path to victory here for Sam Hughes. But I can't pick her. I'm going to go with Nunes. Marcel probably wins the decision just with her striking. It's kind of what I'm thinking happens here, but it's not really a fight that I would want to bet on or anything like that. Any thoughts on this one?
Basically the same, man. It's the thing. If Hughes can get the takedowns, then she can win the fight. But do I see it happen? I don't know, And Nunes is better striking, in my opinion. So I also lean towards Nunes, but I'm not sure. If Hughes somehow sees she gets a takedown, and then she can keep getting takedowns and keep getting her onto the ground, Hughes has a good shot at winning. You know what I mean? But I'm going with Nunes as well. Probably also a decision.
Yeah, let's see this. Nunes is more impressive stylistically. Hughes could get takedowns. Yeah, I think so too. Stats suggest Hughes by sub is even shot. What stats suggesting that though, Glenn? I'm just trying to, she hasn't. Let me check right now. She's never attempted a submission in the UFC. Does she even? The only fight I remember where she really got that sub was the. I guess you're not talking about stats. You're talking about the records. I guess that's more of what he meant. I mean, the fight with Vanessa Demopoulos, man, it was an interesting fight, but she got choked out. I know she has a couple like chokes though in her career. I guess that's what more you meant, like her overall record, not the actual like UFC stats. You're right, it's possible. I mean, Angel Lee choked her out, right? And Carnosi did too. So I guess I see what you're saying. It's possible. I wouldn't count it out. Honestly, I wouldn't, Marcel, because I think if Hughes does get into the ground, there's a chance you could win the fight by submission. So I guess I'm agreeing on that one. Yeah, it's not a fight I would want to bet on personally, Marcel. I got to go with Nunes for the pick. But again, it's not confident. I do think that this girl could come out here and finally get a win in the UFC. But again, she has lost 4 of her last 5 fights. I don't think she's that great, Marcel, honestly. But I don't think Nunes is that great either. So, yeah, I mean, pick your poison here. Honestly, now that I look at it, it's like I'd probably rather take the dog shot on this one. But I'm just going to pass completely. I think, Marcel, just not really one I would personally want to lay money on.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the next fight here. This one's interesting too. Jordan Leavitt against Trey Ogden in the lightweight division. The odds for this one have Trey Ogden as a slight favorite, minus 130. Jordan Leavitt plus 110. The odds actually opened with Leavitt as the favorite, minus 155. So the line kind of flipped here. It's still close, but just want you guys to know that the odds makers actually opened Leavitt as a slight favorite here. So any thoughts on this one, Marcel?
Yeah, I expect both guys to try to get to the ground, probably. Leavitt is definitely more of a ground fighter than he is a stand-up guy. And same goes for Ogden, in my opinion, man. Ogden's debut on some short notice. He's replacing Victor Martinez, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, people will be off on Ogden because he has 2 losses to Thomas Gifford on his record. That's why people will be off on Ogden. But if you look at this fight, I think he's pretty decent, and he can give Leavitt a run for his money,
Yeah.
I honestly feel I'm picking Ogden in this one. I think Trey Ogden can win here. Will they finish him? I don't know. I feel confident going with a decision in this one for Trey Ogden.
This is an interesting fight. They're both like grapplers mostly.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you right now. So I didn't know a lot about Trey Ogden, and I watched a shitload of his fights the other day. There's like tons on YouTube and on Fight Pass. I think I watched like 10 of his fights. So I think I have a pretty good read of this guy. He's a strong dude. He's a good grappler. He's got good ground and pound. He's got great submissions. The Thomas Gifford fights are weird, man. They're really weird, Marcel. I don't know if you've seen them. They're really weird fights because the exact same thing happened in both fights. He went for a takedown and Gifford got him in this tight guillotine choke, right? It's crazy almost. And they basically happened like one was 1 minute 57 seconds in the first round, the other was 104. Like you said, if he didn't have those losses on his record, I think he'd probably be a bigger favorite here, honestly, because I think the guy is a decent fighter from what I've seen. That being said, Leavitt is a good grappler as well, as we've seen. But that fight with Claudio Puelles, Marcel, after that first round, he kind of fell apart. He was the one getting out grappled. So yeah, I think he could have a good first round here. But I think as the fight goes on, I'm not so sure about Jordan Leavitt. I think that most people will probably just look at the record, like you said, Marcel. They'll see the losses of Gifford and automatically fade the guy, and I get it. But I think you have to look a little closer. I think this guy's pretty good, honestly. The one thing is though, he did take the fight at short notice, Marcel, as we noticed. So. From what I've seen, he said he's been training for the fight. He was already preparing for, getting the UFC call because I think he won a contract, if I'm not mistaken, on the Fury Fighting Championship, right? So they knew that he was going to get in the UFC at some point. I'd imagine he'll be in shape and ready for this fight. He's obviously a glory guy too. I got to go with Ogden too, man. I think he's going to get on top of him and kind of ride him out here. Leavitt is a good grappler too, so maybe he doesn't get submitted, but I think a decision probably, like you said, Marcel, is I think it's very possible, but I do think a finish is possible too. I think it's possible. But again, this guy's gonna have to watch out for that guillotine, man, because he has been put in these positions in a lot of his fights, Marcel, where he can get choked out. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, let's get to the comments here. Ogden's lost by sub, taking a shot led by sub. I know what you're saying, but again, those fights are weird. It's possible though. There's no doubt he's got an issue with the submission defense. He is a good submission artist himself, though. Big J says he's like Ogden. Yeah, I'm picking him too, man. I like him too. Ogden's better than the feet and keep it there at Ogden for the win. I think so too. I think you guys are right. So Ogden, that's the pick here, Marcel. Let's go to the next fight here. We got Chris Barnett against Martin Buday. Interesting fight. The heavyweights, Marcel. We got the heavyweights here, Marcel. So we got this odds for this one, minus 230, Martin Buday, plus 190, Chris Barnett. What do you think about this one, Marcel?
The only thing I hope is that Bisping is in the commentary booth on Saturday, so he can say Buday. So, Chris Barnett, Martin Buday. Yeah, Barnett coming off that crazy spinning wheel kick TKO with ground and pound punches against John Villante, right? Buday coming from the Contender Series where he beat Lorenzo Hood in the first round. Yeah, he was completely, how do you say that? Much better than Lorenzo Hood, in my opinion. I thought that was a mismatch, in my opinion. But still, yeah. What do I think about this one? Maybe Barnett can pull off some other crazy stuff again. You know, you never know. But gotta go with my gut feeling, man. I think Martin Buday is going to win the fight, and he likely will do it via TKO in the second round.
I have to pick him too, right? Because the guy, he's been pretty good. But like throughout his career, and obviously he had that win on the Contender Series. But I don't know. I'm not sure how good he really is, honestly. Like I was watching some of his fights today. There's quite a few on YouTube, and he has some knockouts, but like the level of competition is really low, and he hasn't really fought like a good striker like this. I mean, Chris Barnett is a great striker, man. He has power. I think if it stays on the feet, Marcel, it'll be sketchy. I really do. I think if it stays on the feet, Chris Barnett could land something crazy. It's possible, right? But I think if Buday's smart, Marcel, he's going to work the wrestling, get him against the fence, grind him out, take him down. We saw Ben Rothwell take him down, easily finish him. Barnett, he's a small heavyweight. Obviously, he's a short guy for this division. Looking at the official numbers, you got 6'4" to 5'9". I mean, that's a massive height discrepancy, right? The reach is pretty similar, actually, 77 to 75. But just Buday's a bigger heavyweight. He really is. And I think that if he fights smart and grapples this guy, he'll win the fight, especially in the small cage. I think that's the way to go. But I'm just saying, like, this guy's really untested, man. He has not fought anyone good. I was planning on betting on him, honestly, but after doing more research on the guy, I'm staying away from this fight. So he'll probably end up winning by knockout. Like, that's the way it probably should go. But I'm going to stay away from it because the level of competition is just really bad, Marcel. And I've seen him get tagged in a lot of his fights by guys that really suck, like guys with like 1-4 records and stuff. And the Lorenzo Hood guy he beat, I mean, he tagged him too. And that guy's not that good.
That's
so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think, again, he should win. We've talked about him on the podcast. We all said he's a pretty good Premier prospect. So I'm going to pick him. Don't get me wrong. But I'm not laying the juice. I got to see him fight him and see what happens in this fight. Let me see what the comments say. I think Buday can make him wait in the division. Maybe. The only loss was to Espino. It's true. But, again, the wins are over, like, really not good fighters, guys. I'm telling you right now. Like, Barnett's, I mean, it's not like Barnett's fought. I mean, Barnett's fought like really good fighters. It's not like he's beaten like a lot of really good guys in his career either. I get it, but he has a lot of experience. He's been around for a long time. Pretty tough guy. I'm just saying, I'm picking Buday, but there's things about this fight that scare me. I just think his striking defense is pretty bad. Honestly, it's not as good as I expected, and I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Raw Torque's right. Don't underestimate Barnett. It's true. Everyone was fading him against John Villante. Like, oh, this is the easy fight for John. He knocked him out good. Crazy card placing considering attention Curtis got last time out. Chris, you mean? Yeah, Chris Barnett. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I thought that he would get a higher, TV slot, Marcel, because of that fight. And also, like Andrew said too, I agree with Andrew. Surprised UFC isn't giving you an easier fight in front of a crowd. I'm surprised too. Like, right?
I mean, it doesn't make sense to bury on the prelims, man. When you have like sometimes random heavyweights having on the main card or co-main event that don't even belong there. You know what I mean? So then people are really enthusiastic about a guy like Chris Barnett, and then you put him on a prelim. It's just weird,
I agree. I agree with that. So, and let's get some other comments here. I agree. I mean, that's what I see happening too. But I'm just saying, I don't know. I mean, this guy, he's not as good as I thought. I'm just being honest. Like, I thought he was a little better, Marcel, but he got tagged up in that last fight. Contender Series, pretty good. And Barnett hits harder than Lorenzo Hood, I would say. Barnett's a better striker. Again, Marcel, you look at him. He's a big fat guy, right? But, man, Taekwondo background. He's got crazy spinning kicks. He has power. Just don't underestimate him, guys. That's what I'm saying. It's a heavyweight fight, too, Marcel. We know one punch can end it, right? So, it's just one I would stay away from personally. But if you guys want to bet on Buday, I totally understand. I mean, he should win the fight. And him by knockout, I mean, I don't think that's a terrible pick because I think that's how he'd finish it. Probably ground and pound. Or maybe he submits him, too. It's possible. But I'm thinking probably ground and pound stoppage. Parker Porter gets all the easy fights in main card placement. It's true. Him and Alan Badeau, they always get the main card fights, Marcel.
Yeah.
Let's go next fight. Rafa Garcia against Jesse Ronson, the Canadian. This is awesome to see him back in the cage. He hasn't fought in like 2 years, so it's really good to see Jesse back. Odds for this one, Marcel, it's a pick of -110 each. the closest fight in the card, according to the odds makers. So, what do you think about this one, my man?
Honestly, I really like Jesse Ronson, man. I think he's a good fighter. He just he screwed himself in the last fight. He won against Dalby, and he got caught for whatever he got caught for. I don't know exactly. You probably know.
I mean,
No?
he said it was like a tainted supplement, I believe. So I don't think he even I think he actually got a reduction in his suspension. So, anyways, go ahead.
If you look at Garcia, won his last fight, right, against Nathan Levy. Before that fight against Gritsmak, I think that was super close, and it could have gone either way. Didn't look great against Nasrat Haqparast on short notice. But, yeah, it's an intriguing fight. I think it's a close fight. But like I said, man, I like Jesse Ronson in this fight, man. If he can put up his A game, he should be able to win this fight and maybe even finish Garcia. I don't think he ever been finished in his career, but I think Ronson can do it. I feel like I'm going with a submission in the second round for Jesse Ronson, man.
Yeah. By the way, I'm just reading what happened. Again, he says it was tainted supplement, I believe, in 20-month suspension. So yeah, that's what it was. It wasn't a full 2 years, but 20 months. Probably because he was like, talking to them and agreeing with them and stuff like that. I like Jesse. I mean, I obviously like the guy. He's Canadian. I'd like to see all the Canadian guys do well, but he hasn't fought in 2 years. He's 36 years old now. I don't really trust him here personally. This is a guy that, again, I've seen fight for. Man, I'm looking at his record on Marcel. I saw him fight in 2012 in person against Alex Ricci. Did Alex Ricci make it to the UFC? He did, right? He fought in the UFC too. He fought Paul Felder. Yeah.
No, that's the other Ricci.
Alessandro Ricci. Remember that guy? Yeah. I saw them fight in 2012, guys. Yeah, for the Score Fighting Series. How crazy is that? And now this guy is here again. So it's a long time coming. I mean, he's obviously been in the UFC a few times. What were you gonna say?
What Ricci was I thinking about?
There's a couple. Mike Ricci, I think.
Mike, that's it.
There's two Canadian guys, yeah, but it's a different one. Anyways, like the guy's been around forever. He's a good fighter. He's got tons of experience. I get it, but I don't know, man. I mean, he could win. It's a pick-up fight. Don't get me wrong. It's a pick-em. The odds are close for a reason. But Garcia, pretty tough dude, man, and the wrestling's pretty good. We've seen that in the 3 fights, Marcel. I think the wrestling has been solid the last couple fights. The striking defense is bad. It's really bad. So if this fight is on the feet only, Bronson wins. But I think if Garcia mixes and takedowns, he can grind it out, man. So I'm going with Rafa Garcia, guys, to win a decision. That's what I think happens here. It is a pick and fight, though. So tough to be
a difference.
Yeah, it's tough. I know, right? It's good to see we have a different one, but it's tough to be super confident. Are you favoring a decision though, Marcel? Or are you thinking it's going the distance?
I had a submission second round.
Oh, you have submission. Okay, sorry. So Ronson by submission is or odds on that one? I don't see them right now, but maybe if they come out, you can take a look at that. But sorry, plus 1400. I see that now.
Oh,
wow. I mean, that's crazy odds. I'm thinking it's going to be Garcia by decision. That's what I think. That's like plus 200. That's what I kind of think happens. But man, I mean, no doubt. Ronson's got submission prowess and he's got some knockout power too. So again, he's a good fighter. And that fight with Dalby, he was a big underdog in that fight, Marcel. Not many people expected him to win the fight. So I like the distance too, man. I mean, Garcia's really proven like he's a tough dude. He's very durable. Ronson definitely he's called the body snatcher for a reason. The guy definitely's got the body punches and the finishing ability. If you look at his wins, 17 of his wins are by stoppage, so I get it. But I am thinking it goes the distance too. I mean, if you look at Ronson's career before Marcel his first time in the UFC, 3 fights went to the distance, split decisions, right? Yeah, 3 straight splits. I think the only guy in UFC history, right, with 3 straight splits. Yeah, and he got cut after that, and it was pretty rough. Actually,
fought Lee Prazeres. Prazeres and who else were 3 good fighters. He fought.
Kevin Lee, Trinaldo, and Prazeres. I saw him fight at Gustafson Jones 1. He fought in the prelims for that card. It was a split decision. Okay, I gotta double check this, but I think there's a guy I know, Brian Beauchamp. He's a referee here in Canada and a judge. And we don't talk anymore, but at that time we were pretty friendly. And I think he's the only one who scored it for Ronson. And I think like after the card, we were like hanging out and we were like giving him shit. Like, dude, like you were kind of biased there. You scored it for the Canadian guy. Like, we don't think he won, right? Mm-hmm. I think. Let me double check though. Let me double check with him because I know there was another fight on the card where Brian scored it and we were kind of giving him shit. It was the Caceres fight he fought. I think he fought Roland Delorme. That was one. It was kind of funny. Let me see. Ronson. Where is it? Jesse. I'm looking on. Oh, here we go. UFC MMA decisions. Let me see if I was right. Yeah, Brian had it for Ronson. He's the only one. I'm going to show you guys right now. It's too funny because I know the guy, right? So I talked to him after, and I'm like, dude, how did you score for Ronson? Like, I was like, how did you? Like, you're the only guy who had it. Look, wait, look at this. Right? Even though I'm there, I was with Sportsnet back then. See, he's the only guy, Marcel, right here.
Yeah.
And then one, of course, his shirt on. One media member. It's kind of funny, right? So, what did the fans say? Yeah, 90% of the fans had it for percentage. So, yeah, you see what happened. Anyways, it was funny. But yeah, I remember giving him a little bit of a tough time on that one.
Yeah, he had that lazy second round where it was like, oh, it's close, so we tied up.
I mean, we know a lot of judges do that. Yeah, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I think the right guy won that fight, and you know, it is what it is. All right, let's go to the next fight. Next one. This one's interesting. Drakkar Klose against Brandon Jenkins.
Weird fight.
So it's a weird fight, and man, the odds are really, really high for this fight. They're as high as -800, but I'm looking at -600 right now, plus 450 on Jenkins. So -600 and Drakkar Klose. You opened at -260, so the line has been steamed like crazy. These odds are a lot longer than I thought they'd be. I'll be honest with you guys. I mean, I'll start on this one, Marcel. You know, I don't think they're necessarily wrong because I think he wins the fight. You know, I really do. And I think this is what I was saying the other day, Marcel. I think people are getting like smarter about these like the fights. I think people are getting smarter about how to pick fights and how to break down fights. And that's why you're seeing a line like this so high, because a couple of years ago, you might see him as like a -300 favorite. You automatically just put him in a parlay. And now, you know, I get it. Like, it's not like the actual like winning probability for -300 to -6. It's not that much of a difference. I get that, but it's still like it's crazy to me that he's such a huge favorite. Although again, I just think it's people being smart, and you know, we talked about this a few weeks ago. Like, there's a lot more bettors now, like doing MMA, and I think they're just parlaying this guy. So I get it. He's going to win the fight, Marcel. I'm pretty sure. And I think the way to go is to look for a prop. You know, you either look at decision or finish. That's the way you look at this fight, I think, on close. The decision's plus 175. The finish is -115. You know, Klose has never won a fight by a stoppage in the UFC. That doesn't mean he can't do it here. You know, it's very possible. And these kind of mismatches, quote unquote, you do see a lot of finishes. And Jenkins is a guy who's been, you know, finished quite a bit in his career. You know, I didn't really break down Jenkins enough. They call him the human highlight reel. I mean, he's definitely got some highlights about Marcel with the crazy like spinning back elbows and shit. Like, the guy he's entertaining. And I'm gonna give him a break here because I listened to the interview with Cole Sheldon. And he took the Zhu Rong fight on 30 hours notice, like 1.5 days notice, Marcel. And he said he was at In-N-Out Burger with Jordan Leavitt when his manager called him and said, "Hey, you got to fight." And he had to put down his burger and his milkshake to get cut weight. He talked about how bad the weight cut was. Now it's, you know, it's still a tough weight cut for him, but it's not going to be as bad as in 30 hours. And he said he was pissed off because Rong Zhu, the guy he fought, missed weight when he had 2 months for his training camp, but he made weight, which is crazy. I think it's something to consider, but I don't think I can use it as like a reason to pick the guy, you know. But I will say, I mean, he's got some power, right? And obviously, Klose is coming off the knockout loss. I think Klose's fight's smart here, you know. Also, Cole interviewed Klose too. I like plugging Cole because he's a good guy and he does good interviews. The interview with Drakkar Klose is really good, guys. It's really screwed up what happened to this dude, Marcel. Like, the Jeremy Stevens thing happened, right? He hasn't fought in a year. Actually, fought in 2 years now. He has severe neck injury still. You know, he still has this problem with his neck. And he thinks it's going to last the rest of his life. And he was just saying, like, the UFC only paid his show money and they didn't give him his win bonus. And they didn't even talk to him after the fight. They never said, like, how are you feeling? Like, nothing. So he said, you know, I'm in the promotion right now. I don't want to say anything negative, but maybe one day when I'm not here anymore, I'll start, you know, telling the stories from behind the scenes. So it sounds like he's got a bone to pick. And he basically said, if Courtney Casey, who's his wife, or I think they're married. They have a kid together. I know.
They're together.
Yeah. He said if she wasn't fighting, because she's had a couple fights, that he would be working at McDonald's or broke, living under a bridge right now. And it broke my heart to hear that. I mean, that's really messed up. Like, this guy's a like top 20 fighter in this weight class in the world, arguably, and he hasn't fought. He hasn't made a paycheck in a while. It made me sad to hear that, Marcel, honestly. So, anyways, I think he gets the job done here, guys. But again, a lot of his wins are by decision. The last knockout he had was 7 years ago. Almost all of his wins are by decision. I think he probably wins a decision here again, you know, but it's definitely possible Jenkins could get finished because he's not like a great fighter. I'm going to go with close by decision, though. I honestly, if you look at the two lines, plus 175 by decision, that's the way he wins his fights. I think that's better value personally. But I understand why you guys are going to take the stoppage too, because it looks like a mismatch. So give me your thoughts on this fight, Marcel, and talk about Jenkins a little bit too. Go ahead.
I have Klose via first round knockout, to be really honest, man. So I think he stops him early. Listen, man, Jenkins had that great switch kick knockout against Kilburn in PFL, right? But I still think I just think Klose is a good talent still, and he made the Dariush difficult. Remember, he lost to Dariush, but he made Dariush wobbly as well. So, and Dariush is now top 3, I think. So.
Yeah,
he's definitely he's a good fighter.
That was crazy. Like we all thought he almost knocked him out, right? And then he gets knocked out. Remember that fight? It was insane.
Sure. So that was a great fight, I think. So I think Klose can win. I think he wins first round knockout. You know what I really would like to see if he wins this one, match him up with Paddy Pimblett.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they'll do that fight.
No, of course they don't. But
they will not, because Klose will probably break him. Klose has got really good card. Klose is a good fighter, man. He is, and he's got good wins. Like Bobby Green's, it looks like a good win now, right? Especially in hindsight. Brandon Jenkins has power. That's about all he has, in my opinion. I don't think he has much wrestling. I think he just gets grinded out. And that fight against, again, we have to give him a break, guys, because he took the fight in like 1 day's notice, 2 days notice against Drew Long. But still, I mean, it didn't look good, and he gets finished there, taken down at will. Wasn't too impressive, so I can't take the guy. But man, he's got one of the better nicknames than me, doesn't he? The Human Highlight Reel. I fucking love that nickname, man. I agree. I think if he had won that fight, his career, his whole life would be different. How crazy is that, eh? His whole life, it's crazy. Like one split second changes your whole life, because he would have never fought Jeremy Stevens, probably would have never been shoved. That shove is just disgusting still, Marcel.
Yeah,
it's so wrong, eh?
People are still hating Klose for it. Well,
I gotta tell you guys, you gotta watch that interview, man. It broke my heart, man. He said that he drove home from Vegas to Arizona after that, and he was crying the whole way home because he said everyone online was saying how much they hated him and stuff, and he said I did nothing wrong. He said him and Jeremy, like, they saw each other at the hotel and like the fighter, meetings and stuff, and he said they were chill during the week. He said he did not expect him to like shove him, and that's why his guard wasn't up that day. And again, Jeremy ended up getting another fight against Matthias Gamrot, got washed, and he got released by the UFC. He's in PFL though. It's pretty crazy how life works, because Jeremy's got an opportunity now to win $1 million, and this guy hasn't fought and hasn't made a paycheck. So just saying, like, I feel generally bad for the guy, but he'll win this fight. And you know what, Marcel? He has a good chance to get a bonus too if he gets a finish. He's fighting a guy he's supposed to just destroy, right? So if he gets that finish, then maybe the UFC will get him a bonus. I would hope, but again, he has said some stuff that they probably don't like hearing, so we'll see. Close by knockout. I guess I'm the only one taking a decision. I mean, he hasn't knocked anyone out in the UFC, but I guess you guys just think Brandon Jenkins stinks, eh? I mean, I get it. He hasn't been too impressive, man. He does have some crazy knockouts though, Marcel. You've seen them, right? The PFL one was crazy. The caged aggression one was crazy. Vegan song. Love the show, guys. Thanks for putting the work. I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much, dude. We definitely put the work in. I appreciate that. Jenkins loves me hit ground and pound or sub. Probably. He does like to get hit, dude. He really does. Will Close test P agency? Probably. If Stevens wins $1 million, Close would be crazy not to sue. I mean, I think he should have already. It's crazy the UFC didn't protect him that day. And again, they haven't did anything. Just watch the interview. You guys know what I'm talking about when you see it. It's just upsetting, honestly. Like, I think he's a decent dude, man. I think he just got like a bad rap because someone else did something to him or something they should never did. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really get it. I don't understand why you'd hate on this guy, but it is what it is. All right, let's go to the next fight here, guys. We have Lina Lansberg against Pannie Kianzad. This one is one of the bigger odds on the card as well. -410 for Pannie, +330 for Lina Lansberg. She's coming off a long layoff, Marcel, a 2-year layoff. She had a kid. She's a little bit older. I think she's almost 40 now. Let me double check how old she is. Yeah, she's 40 years old. She just turned 40. I believe had her first child, so congrats to her. But, after such a long layoff, Marcel, I really question this return at this stage of her life at age 40 against someone with Pannie Kianzad who's a really good fighter. So give me your thoughts on this one, man. What do you think?
Yeah, isn't Lina dating Akira, that guy would also fought in the UFC?
Who?
I think Akira Khorasani.
Is she really? I didn't know that. Oh, wow.
I thought so.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure.
Let me double check. I got to see that. I remember that guy from like Ultimate Fighter. He fought Dustin Poirier as well.
Yeah, and he shaved Cowboy's hair in the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah. Let me double check that. That's crazy if so. Maybe you're right. I know he's a Swedish guy too, right? So Let me double check here. But I don't see anything on his, but maybe it's on hers. Anyways, go ahead. Give me your thoughts.
So, yeah, man. I mean, Lina Lansberg, I almost never pick her, but sometimes she surprises me. For example, like the Macy Chasson one. Pannie, she lost her last fight against Raquel Pennington, but was competitive, right? With Pennington 1-2-1, if I remember correctly. This, by the way, both girls really don't like each other. That's what I've heard from its pretty big fight in Sweden. I favor Kianzad, man. I think she has more upside in this fight. I take her with a decision, not a stoppage, but a decision win over Lina Lansberg.
I think you might be right too, because they have some like photos together. I'm just looking. I didn't even know this, so it's just interesting, right? Because they're both fighters. That's the only thing. That's the only reason I would even care. Again, Lina hasn't fought in forever. I think Pannie's a really underrated fighter, man. That fight with Raquel Pennington guys was like razor thin. It was razor thin. It could have went either way. Had she won that fight, Marcel, because that fight was the closest it gets.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at that fight, it was 29-28 for Raquel, 50-48 in significant strikes for Pannie, and the control time was 6 minutes 16 to 5 minutes 34. It was like so close. And if she won that fight, she would be like top 5 in the world right now, right? So I think she's a pretty good fighter, man. Honestly, I think Lansberg. She had that win over Macy Chasson that really surprised me at the time. That one really surprised me. I didn't expect her to win that fight, but I mean, really hasn't really impressed me at all in her career. Other than that fight, to be honest with you. And I think that Pannie's just a much better striker, and she's 9 years younger. And the age thing doesn't always work, as we know with Vendera. Some other guys. What are you gonna say?
Check your DM on Twitter. I'd send you something.
All right, cool. Yeah, so that's what I think, anyways. But yeah, I think Lansberg wins. But here's the thing, guys. Minus 400 is high, but not only that, but I was looking at the decision prop. I'm like, maybe there's some value on that, right? Minus 150. You have to lay juice. So I hate that. I don't think that's a great bet, honestly. I think that's the way the fight probably goes, but I don't like laying juice on a specific prop. I don't think that's really a great bet in any time. That being said, I mean, the inside distance plus 340. Maybe she could finish her, Marcel. We've seen Lansberg get finished. Maybe this is the fight where she does. So if anything, although I am going to pick her by decision, there's probably more value on the knockout. I'll say that right now. So it's possible. Let me see what you... Let's check what Marcel sent me. What did he send me here? Let's take a look. Let's see here. All right. Yeah. Okay, I see that. Yeah. So it looks like she's with Akira. I didn't know that. It's interesting. 2 former UFC fighters. And I just see Cole just sent me something. Aaron Blanchard's fighting JJ Aldrich. That's a new fight that's happening.
In the works for June 4th.
Yeah. We just mentioned your name. How crazy is that? This guy asked about Blanchard. We just said it at the same freaking time. That's crazy. All right. Anyways, yeah. So we're both going to go with Pannie in that fight. All right,
also,
go ahead.
Also, just saw somewhere on Twitter that JP Baeza is fighting Cody Durden on June 18th.
Well, the loser gets caught, right? I would say.
Probably,
yeah. All right, let's go to the next fight here, Marcel. This one's an interesting fight. In the heavyweight division, we have William Knight taking on Devin Clark. It says light heavyweight on UFC stats, Marcel. Is that incorrect?
No, it's heavyweight.
That's what I thought. I thought it was heavyweight. Okay, I'm just letting you guys know that that's what it says right now. But I believe it's a heavyweight fight. So I should mention, Devin Clark was trained to fight Gamzatov, Marcel, and Gamzatov fell off. So now he's fighting William Knight. Took the fight in I think 2 weeks' notice, I believe, or something like that. So it's interesting, right? Because I mean, he has taken fights on short notice and didn't do too well in the past. I think he took the Grisham. Did he take the Grisham fight on short notice too? Ed Herman was supposed to fight Grisham, and he didn't look good in that fight. So give me your thoughts on this one. I mean, the odds are interesting too because I think it's a pretty competitive fight. You got minus 175 and Clark, plus 155 and Knight. What do you think, Brown Bear or the Nightmare?
Immediate fate for William Knight. I'm sorry, dude, but no, I'm not going to pick him. Devin Clark showed that he can go 3 rounds in the light heavyweight division. Sometimes, he get tagged, but he can go 3 rounds. You know what I mean? And William Knight gasses, man. You know, and he got. It's stupid to say, but he got way too much muscle. You know what I mean? And I think that's an issue. And listen, man. I respected that he took a fight on short notice again, but he shouldn't fight at heavyweight, dude. You know what I mean? And Devin Clark also not, but at least Devin Clark fights normally at light heavyweight and just took this fight because they probably didn't have anybody else to get to the fight, make 205, so he took it at 265. Clark decision, man. I won't do anything else than Clark decision.
All right, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I was actually leaning towards William Knight for a little bit, and then I just watched back the Grissom fight, and I watched back the Dan Jung fight, and my God, for a guy that physically strong, how easy it is to take this guy down, it just blows my mind. It's terrible, Marcel, and Clark is such a grinder. He's always shooting for takedowns. Now, the problem with Clark is the chin, I think, Marcel.
Yeah.
I think it'll probably be better at this weight class, but my God, I watched that. I haven't seen it in a while. I was watching that fight. Remember that fight with Alex Nicholson, his debut? That was at middleweight, by the way. So, I mean, the weight cut must have been brutal. But he was dominating that fight, and a little punch caught him. And same with the Rakic fight. He was winning that fight and gets caught with a little punch, and his chin went. It's crazy. I think a heavyweight will probably be more durable, I would think. You know, he did take a beating against Kualaba, though. My God. A beating, and then he almost won the third round, I believe, too. So it's kind of crazy, right? Like, I think he did win the third round. So the guy's he's there for 50 minutes. You know, it's interesting. I think they're both guys that beat Menefield, which I think is kind of cool that they matched them up here. But, you know, Marcel, I think Clark just pushes him against the fence and grinds him out. That's what I think. So I was leaning towards William Knight until I did more, study, and I have to go with Clark. I think the odds are probably right, because at first I thought, okay, this is more of like a minus 110 fight each. But now I'm starting to see why the line is this way, because the wrestling it's very much in Clark's favor. And again, man, like just the way he can get taken down is actually very surprising to me, Marcel. I don't know. The fight with and just controlled against the fence too. But the Dan Jung fight, Marcel, my God, 8 times, like it was kind of crazy. I know that. Hey, I know Kitolaba did the same thing to Clark. I get it. But it's a different beast, right? It's a different beast. So Devin Clark by decision. That's what I'm looking at, Marcel, in this fight. It's an interesting one. Clark by decision. Yeah, that's what I think. Clark by sub, maybe. What's Clark by sub? Let me take a look at that. Clark by sub. I don't see it here. I don't think it's listed. But Clark inside this is plus 240. Clark by decision plus 160. That's what I would roll with. All right, let's go to the next fight here. We got a okay. So this is the new fight. This is Angelusa against Munar Lazez. This is a new fight, guys. It's a very, very good fight, I think. I'm really happy to see Angelusa in the UFC, Marcel. Taking on Munar Lazez here. And we do have odds for the fight. They actually put them up very quickly. So kudos to the odds makers for getting that up in short notice. The odds for this fight, minus 200, Munar Lazez, plus 170, Angelusa. I want to hear your thoughts on this fight, Marcel. It's an interesting one. What do you think?
So if you look at Munar Lazez, he came actually into the UFC because a friend of Dana White's son showed him a clip of him during a party, and Dana was interested, so he signed him, made his debut at Fight Island against Abdul Razak Al Hassan, but that was the Abdul Razak Al Hassan post 2 year not fighting, the first time I think. Abdul Razak Al Hassan, he started good in the first 3 minutes, but completely faded, and Lazez took over. They got fight of the night, but yeah, second fight for Lazez, he lost to Alves, man. I think he was a pretty decent favorite going into that fight, because Alves is really inconsistent, and he was a pretty big prospect when he came into the UFC. I remember winning the Ultimate Fighter Brazil, but this was actually a good win again for Alves, and actually not really good looking for Lazez. If you look at Angelusa, I think everybody who saw the Contender Series saw his fight against Jack Dilla Maddalena. In my opinion, the best fight of the season last year. I should have signed him if I was the UFC back then, even with a loss, but they didn't. And he got a win at ex-MMA like 10 days ago against John Howard, former UFC veteran, former UFC fighter.
Yep.
Dude, call me crazy, but I'm preferring Angelusa to win this fight, man, and I'm taking for a decision here.
I feel the exact same way, my friend.
Okay.
That's crazy. That's fucking crazy. I'm going with Lusa too, man. I feel good about this guy. I really like this guy, man. He just fought, right? He just fought. If he didn't fight, then I don't think I could do it, because I wouldn't know what kind of shape he is in. He just fought 2 weeks ago in the XMA card, which we broke down, and we all said we beat John Howard, and he did. Jack Della Maddalena fight was one of the best fights last year, contender. I think he should have got signed off a loss. They signed that, I think, Carlos Candelario guy off a loss. Like, we don't even need that guy in the UFC. This guy we need in the UFC. You know what I mean? This dude's, it's a good fighter. I don't think he's great, Marcel. I think he's still a work in progress, honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
he's pretty good. And I watched a bunch of his fights today on YouTube. There's a couple smashes dudes, take them down, grab them, smash them. I just think what were you gonna say?
We can legit say he trains probably with the few of the best welterweights in the
He's
world.
At Sanford.
Right?
Yeah, he's at Sanford, guys. He's training with Ian Gary. He's training with
Gilbert Burns, Vicente,
Luque. I mean, the best guys in the world. Usman comes in there sometimes as well.
Jason Jackson.
Yeah, there's some of the best welterweights in the world. That camp is insane, as you guys know. Doesn't mean he'll win. I mean, and by the way, Lunar Lazez just had a good camp too. Look at his Instagram, Marcel. He's training with I think he's with Kamzat and Strickland. Is he not? I'm pretty sure he is. He's getting good. Let me double check, but I'm pretty sure I saw a picture of them all together. Let me double check. I mean, that room is pretty nuts too. Let me just double check that. I don't want to say anything wrong. Yeah, there's a picture right here of him with Hamzat, Sean Strickland, Darren Till, and Chris Curtis. I mean, this is pretty fucking crazy. I mean, they're both coming from great camps, so there's no doubt about it. I just don't know about Lazez, man. I mean, he had that crazy fight in his debut, right? With that amazing performance against Abdul Razak Al Hassan, which surprised everyone at the time, I think. I mean, he was a huge underdog. He was plus 300 or 400. I remember I parlayed Al Hassan, which was so dumb in me at the time because he was off that layoff. But I didn't think much of Lazez. Go ahead.
I know when I posted that fight announcement with Abdul Razak Al Hassan, Munir Lazez, almost everybody was quote tweeting or saying under it like, what did this guy do to the UFC? They're matching up with Abdul Razak Al Hassan in his debut.
Yeah.
Pretty much 99% of the comments. You know what I mean? So I fully agree with you, man.
I know it was surprising, but man, I think it was on the same card Hamzat fought John Phillips. Like that was a very it was on the same card. Calvin Kattar fought Dan Ige. I had a parlay of the three of them.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, this is the easiest one. Of course, that's the one that loses. I like Lusa though. I really like this guy. You know, I don't know. Like I think highly of this dude. You know, I think he's got just the wrestling. I think he's gonna be very hard to finish. He's gonna keep walking forward, push this guy against the fence, get him down. In that Eldarov fight that he lost in Brave, Marcel, he kind of got grinded out in that loss. You know,
that's
right.
A super tough guy to fight.
That guy is good.
Khabib has a win over him as well, but he's a really solid guy.
He's solid, but the point is, like, I think that there's a hole in this guy's game in that wrestling. He might have shorted up, but I'm not convinced. At plus 170, I'm taking a shot on the underdog here. I'm gonna go with Lusa. So I'm actually glad you said it. He'll be one of my best bets, I guess, for Saturday for bookies. You know, I was really considering it, but I wanted to kind of hear what your thoughts were too, Marcel, because I respect your thoughts and what you guys said too in the chat. You know, but for me, it's like, even with the shortness, the fact he fought recently, I think that's okay with me. Although this guy's bringing up a good point, Mr. X, about the weight cut. You're right. I don't think he's a huge middleweight though, man, or a welterweight. I don't think he's huge in this division. You know, I don't think he's that big. So I think the weight cut will be okay. But you're right; it's something to keep in mind for sure. It is short notice too, you know. But I like the guy, man. I think he's gonna win the fight. Lose the decision. Well, you guys like it. His grappling's really good, dude. And he's a good striker too. Lusa probably wins top triangle, those triangles from guard. That's what I think. I think he gets on top of him and grinds him out. If it just takes place in the feet, he'll probably be in trouble, honestly, because I was watching this fight in Titan FC with this guy, and that fight was against another grappler, and he kind of neutralized him and he kind of got struck. So definitely the better striker in this fight is Munir Lazez, but I think Lusa's grappling will be enough to win him the fight. So be really interesting. And I think he wins the fight. So let's go to the next fight here, Marcel. We got Pat Sabatini against TJ Laramie, and this is crazy odds on this one too. Minus 450 on Pat Sabatini, plus 360 on TJ Laramie. Pretty crazy, man. You know, I like Pat, you know, but I again, this is something I talk about all the time. Like, you got to look at the historical odds of these guys, and like, he's been a guy that's been like a pick'em or a dog, like I think throughout his career. Let me just double check like what his odds have been. So he's had 3 fights in the UFC, Pat 17. He's an underdog against Emmers. He was minus 150 against Lutz. And he was an underdog, he was minus 250 against Connolly. So, I mean, that fight, obviously, he was a big favorite in. But the point is, like, now he's minus 500, you know, because people are just writing off TJ Laramie because he got submitted by Derek Minner. And they're expecting him to get submitted kind of like, you know, the 17 is a good submission artist. I'm not convinced that this fight is as easy to call as it looks, you know, personally. I don't know, Marcel. I'm going to pick Pat. Don't get me wrong, because I mean, I think the guy's really good. I think he's underrated. I think he's a guy that I didn't think much, honestly, coming into the UFC, but he's looked good. I got to pick him. I'm just saying, TJ Laramie's super young, guys. He's only 24. He hasn't fought in 2 years, so he's going to come in here probably much improved. Probably looks like a different fighter. If he doesn't get choked out in a minute, how does that fight play out, right? I'm leaning towards Sabatini, but I think this is a potential upset, Marcel. Of all the big favorites, I think this guy's got the best chance. So I'd like to hear your thoughts, man. But what do you think?
Yeah, man, Laramie had that nasty MRSA bacteria, right? Or how do you say that? Which he recovered from now. Yeah, man, Sabatini. The funny thing is, the only fight he really got in trouble in the UFC is a fight he finished in the first round with the heel hook against Jamal Amers.
Yeah.
I remember him in CFFC where he was supposed to go to the UFC if he won the fight against James Gonzalez, and Gonzalez almost ripped his arm off in that fight. But Sabatini is talented, You can't call him a real prospect. I think he's already 30 or past 30, 29, 30, 31, something. So, Laramie, the thing is, Laramie, we haven't seen really good stuff from him so far in the UFC, and actually also not in the Contender Series, man. He won that fight because that other guy got injured. I think the Daniel Swain guy he fought back then, because that was kind of a 50-50 fight, if I can remember correctly. Laramie's still young, so it wouldn't be the end of the road, I think, for him if he loses this one. But I'll favor Sabatini as well, man.
What do you think of the odds, though? You think they seem
I understand the odds, but I'm not with it. You know what I mean? I think it's closer than the odds say, but I understand it.
Yeah, no, I get it. I feel the same way. That's all I'm going to say. Like, I have to pick Pat. He's been super impressive. But I'm just saying, TJ's only 24. He is a really good prospect, man. Like, it's crazy. Actually, I'm looking at like old fights, and I put his name into YouTube, right? His interview with James Lynch, our boy James, from 2016 at MMAOddsbreaker.com when he was fighting in TKO came up when he was 18 years old. So I've known about this kid forever, and I think he is a good prospect. But I'm just, he hasn't fought in forever. How can you pick him, really? Marcel, like, you're taking a risk here. I think if you take a shot on him, but he's good. He's talented,
right?
Man. Huh?
Has a talented brother as well, right?
Yeah, he does. They're talented. I can't remember his brother's name now.
Me neither. Also Laramie.
Well, yeah.
So bad.
Tony Laramie.
Tony Laramie, yeah,
Tony Laramie. And I think he's talented. Let me check what his record is.
He's younger as well.
6-2. Yeah, they're both from Ontario, right? They're local guys. He's 23. His brother is an LFA, so he's another good prospect. And actually, he was crazy. He fought Charles Jourdain's brother, Louis Jourdain, which is so crazy because obviously, dude, TJ has a win over Charles Jourdain, Marcel.
Yeah, I know, TKO, right?
That's what I'm saying, guys. Like, he's not a scrub. He's actually a really good fighter, and he's super young too. Like, I really want to pick him here, but I just can't do it, because I think Laramie or Sabatini is really good. Like, that's the only thing. I think if he was fighting someone else that's not as good, I would definitely pick him, But I believe in Sabatini, man. After the last few fights, the guy is fucking good, and that whole camp, Marcel, Sean Brady and all those guys in Philly, Jeremiah Wells, all those beasts, they're just all getting better. So it's interesting, though. What are you gonna say?
Sabatini for me. I'm going with the decision.
Yeah, but it is crazy though. He has that win over Jourdain, 5-round title fight, So that's a great win. It's a better win than any of these guys have. Just looking at the comments. What's going on, Tristan? Yeah, we got our boy here, Canadian. Will he win? I don't know. I'm not sure. I agree. I don't think it's a time to fade 17 either. I don't think. I'm just saying I think TJ's better than people give him credit for. I also hope he gets destroyed again and gets another fight so I can bet on him and gets the next guy, but because he'll probably get good value again. But no, can't do it. But I think he's a good prospect, guys. I think people are they haven't seen him fighting forever, and how can you pick him, right? But all right, so the next fight here we got Mayra Bueno Silva against Wu Yanin, women's bantamweight division. Huge odds here, Marcel, -445. Bueno Silva +355. Yanin Wu. I mean, these odds seem really high too. What do you think?
Yeah, by the way, did you know that you have to pronounce it as Mayra? I didn't know that. I knew that since three days.
Oh, okay, I thought it's Mayra. But it's not Maria, though. I've seen some people say Maria.
Yeah, Mayra Bueno.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I didn't know. Weird fight to have on the main card. Let's say that first. Yeah, I wanted to say Mayra again. Bueno Silva. She started well in the UFC, remember, against Robertson, right? She actually, that fight didn't went her way, but at a certain moment she had the submission unlocked and she defeated Robertson. But since then, she only beat Borralho. Everybody beats Borralho except Santos for some reason. But I still think Santos' twin sister was there that night. But I mean, she hasn't been put it together, She was actually losing it, I think, as well against what's her name, Montana De La Rosa, right? And fans grabbing prevented that.
She would have won the fight if she didn't grab the fence.
Yeah. So now she's fighting Wu Yan'an. It's actually less impressive than Myra Silva, Wu Yan'an. Also, good to mention that Silva is going up in weight class to 135. She fought 125 in the last fight against Fialho. Wu Yan'an, she has one win in the UFC against Laura Mueller, and it was a submission. I think Wu Yan'an is a white belt, so I remember it was very surprising back then that she won. But hasn't looked good, man, in the fights against Mizuki and against Jocelyn Edwards. The Mizuki fight was kind of close, I remember, but also not great. I honestly think that the loser here probably gets his walking papers. I gotta favor Silva here, man. Although Yan'an might be a little bit more stronger, but I think Silva's more technical, definitely on the ground. And if Silva gets her to the ground, I think Yan'an is done. So I'm going with Silva. For a submission second round.
Submission, yeah. I mean, that's how she wins a lot of her fights. There's no doubt about it. But I think her striking's pretty good too. It's not bad. I think she's the better striker. Her girlfriend, Gloria DePaula, is a really good striker. She's at 115, I believe. She's in the UFC as well. But yeah, I mean, she has the like crazy choke in the contender series. The Jillian Robertson win. I mean, she has some good wins. The last fight with Thuro was not a good performance, and it was just a weird fight. Very strange. Wu Yan'an, I haven't been too impressed with her, Marcel, honestly. Other than that one fight, like you said, she gets the win. I guess the Mizuki anyway fight was decent. It was a pretty good scrap. They were going back and forth, a bit of a war. But I mean, her level of competition is really bad, throughout her career, and I can't pick her. But at the same time, Marcel, minus 450 or whatever. I mean, that's really high. I don't really see value, so it's going to be a pass for me as well. I see some guys in the chat passing as well. I'm going to pass it too, but I think Silva probably wins. Next fight, we got Andre Fialho against Miguel Baeza, Caramel Thunder. This one's an interesting fight. We got two strikers going at it. Minus 175 Baeza, plus 155 Fialho. What do you think?
Yeah, second time this year that Fialho takes a short notice fight, right? Because Baeza was supposed to fight Diego Lima here, but Diego Lima is retired. Baeza lost his last two fights, but the Ponzinibbio fight was, I think, really good, was competitive. And he made a mistake in the Chaos Williams fight, so you saw at a certain moment, if you keep doing that, he's going to hit you, and that's what Chaos did. And it was 1-1 going into the third, so he could have won that one if he fought a little bit more different, but he didn't. If you look at Fialho, really knockout guy, he always tries to take your head up in the early round, in the first round. And that's what he tried with Michel Pereira as well, and I think he did very well in that fight, definitely in the first round. But Pereira took over because he barely had the how do you say that? At the training camp, I think he only had like 3 or 4 days notice for the fight against Michel Pereira. So he gassed out in the second, third round. Pereira actually also gassed out, but he did more than Fialho did. If Baeza can make sure he doesn't get knocked out early on, he probably should win this fight. I have Baeza via decision.
I'm going to go with Baeza, but I'm not betting on him anymore. After the last couple of fights, I can't. The Ponzinibbio fight was definitely close. Had he won that fight, I think I would have came first place in the DraftKings tournament. I remember like being damaged because he had that one, and then the last couple minutes just got tired. But the fight with Chaos Williams, Marcel, I don't know about that fight, man. And also the Matt Brown fight got hurt in that fight. I just don't trust this guy anymore. And Fialho's got big power, guys. He does. He's got a lot of power. I think Fialho's a live dog here. I do. I'm not going to pick him because I still want to believe in Baeza, but I'm a little bit off the bandwagon at this point. Not enough to make me pick against him here, but I won't be betting on him. So it's going to be my goal by Baeza, Marcel. I think he probably just outpoints him here. But would it surprise you to get knocked out? It wouldn't surprise me. It would not.
No, of course not. But I think if it happens early, probably.
Yeah. So let's go to the next fight. We got the co-main event here. Caio Borralho against Gadzhi Omargadzhiev. Interesting fight. Middleweight fight here between two guys making their UFC debuts off Contender Series. It's interesting. Give me your thoughts on this one, Marcel. The odds for this one are pretty close. We got minus 140 on Gadzhi and plus 120 on Caio. So what do you think?
Yeah, the people who haven't watched Dana White's Contender Series and see this one as a co-main event be like, huh? So, man, Borralho, only guy who fought twice in the Contender Series last year, right? He fought at middleweight against Aaron Jeffrey, which is a good fighter, and he beat him. And I still think it was stupid the UFC didn't give him a contract back then. But he came back 3 weeks later at light heavyweight, stopping Jesse Murray early in the first round, and he got the contract. Now he's fighting Gadzhi Omargadzhiev. Omargadzhiev had a good win against Jancy Silva at knee bar, right, in the first round at the last week of the Contender Series. Overall, pretty decent fighter, man. Dagestani undefeated. But man, I feel like I really like Borralho, man. I really feel like he's got something special. I don't know why. I wonder why my screen is like popping the whole damn time. But I don't know why, but I feel like Borralho can win this fight, man. Don't call me crazy. I think Omargadzhiev is amazing. He's really good. But I feel like if he doesn't get, for some reason, I think Borralho takes a decision. Don't ask me why exactly, but I think he will have a longer breathe and he takes a decision, man.
Okay, so here's my thoughts on this one.
Okay,
sorry, you done or it's okay?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Here's my thoughts. So I couldn't really remember him. I went back and watched the Fight Pass, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, you got the knee bar, it was nice, right? I'm like, okay, let me see what else he has. There's like no tape on this guy. There's nothing. You can't find his fights. I couldn't find them. I think there's like one fight. I think maybe it's the Vasiliev fight, the last. I think there's not much, guys. I even went on like the Russian YouTube to try to see like maybe it's there. Couldn't find anything. So how is Vegas really setting this line accurately when there's no tape on this guy? I couldn't find any other than like one or two fights. There's not much out there. I'm telling you guys. So it's basically people just saying because he's a Russian fighter with an undefeated record, that's why he's favored here. That's what I think. You're just looking at his record and being like, okay, he's undefeated, he's Russian, he's going to win the fight. That's not. I don't think that's a good way to handicap fights. Whereas Borralho got a lot of fight footage out there, Marcel. Got 2 fights now in Contender Series. Guys, a lot of fights before that, Future FC. And man, I fucking like this guy. I'm telling you, Marcel, I like him. I like him too. I'm taking him as an underdog too, buddy. Wow, I'm surprised, Marcel, that we both agreed on this one. I had no idea what you think. I assumed you would just take the Russian guy, but I like Caio, man, and I saw such a difference between the 2 fights. The first fight. First off, I should mention, by the way, I think Aaron Jeffrey's actually a better fighter than Gadzhi at this point. I mean, Gadzhi's proven nothing. Aaron Jeffrey's a good fighter. I think it's a better win, honestly. So he's already beaten a guy, in my opinion, that's better than the guy he's fighting now. But only that, the fact that, he didn't get the contract and then came back 2 weeks later and smashed that dude, showed a lot to me. I think this guy's the real deal. He's a judo black belt. He's got great grappling. He's got good striking. He's got power. He's got submissions. Marcel, I really like this guy. I really like him. Gadzhi could win the fight, no doubt about it. He's dangerous as hell. There's no doubt about it. But everything I've seen, there's not much on him, and there's a lot on Borralho, and I really like what I've seen for Borralho. I'm going with Caio Borralho, Marcel. Probably decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if he finished him either. Because again, we don't even know Omargadzhiev. It's been a decision I think once in his career. I mean, how is he even going to react in this fight where you have a guy that the Borralho is very physical? We'll see what happens, but I'm going with the underdog too, man. I like him too. Gadzhi, another kill from MMA Factory. I mean, based on his record, but and the fighting contenders, he looked great. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, like, other than that, I haven't seen much from him. I haven't seen enough, Yeah, I think he's a dog. I think he's a live dog. I like his power too. I like a lot of him. I like his judo background. He's got a good grappling background, Marcel.
Bro, my colleague from Eurosport, he's writing profiles for the fighters, for the main card. He literally just texted me, who the hell are these guys on this card, man? I'm now busy with Omargadzhiev. I can't find literally no info about him.
Told you, there's nothing out there. I looked everywhere. There's like 1 or 2 videos of this guy. So again, how are people? They're just looking at his Tapology and saying, "Oh, he's undefeated. He's got these wins." I want to see more. I mean, definitely he's impressive from what we've seen, but like I said, I think that the Jeffrey win is really good, Marcel. I think it's a better win. That's my opinion, and I really like Borralho. Get a room. I know, right? This guy, especially if he knocks him out, wins me some money this weekend, I'm going to be in love with this dude, man. Gadzhi, his first few fights. I mean, where did you see these fights, dude? There's not out there, man. Where are you seeing this? There's not much. I mean, there's a little bit, but not much, Anyways, let's go to the main event. Vicente Luque against Belal Muhammad 2, the rematch. So these guys fought 6 years ago. Vicente Luque knocked him out, dominated the fight. Now they're rematching again. It's interesting. So the odds for the first fight, let me check that quickly. The odds for the first fight, -125, +105. So Vicente was barely favored. It was like a pick 'em. Now Vicente's -170 and +150 on Belal. So give me your thoughts on the main event, Marcel. 5-round fight, first main event for Luque in the UFC. What do you think about this fight, man?
So I remember when that first fight happened, I was kind of high on Belal because he fought just Alan Jouban. And I think he lost that one, but it was a really good fight, remember? I think it was fight of the night, yeah.
He got dropped 3 times, though. It was crazy.
True.
Yeah.
And I wasn't that high on Luque back then. So, and right now I feel like Luque wins this fight, dude. I mean, Belal, take in mind as well that he is in the Ramadan as well. Luque will have a good gas tank, I guess. He's much better on the feet, let's be honest. He's much better on the feet than Belal. Belal has to take it to the ground, where Luque is also very good. You know what I mean? Maybe if Belal can do top control and can neutralize Luque on the ground, he can win the fight. But I don't see him doing that for 5 rounds. You know what I mean? I also don't see him finishing Luque. So for me, I'm going with Luque here. I'm going with it. What should I do? Should I do sub or TKO? I'm going with a TKO in the 3rd round for Vicente Luque and getting 2-0 against Belal Muhammad, man.
Yeah, it's a great fight. I think it makes a lot of sense, right? Like they're both closing in on that upper echelon. Like I think it's 4 versus 5, so like they're both right there. They're both elite fighters. Obviously I like both guys, but I like Luque more, man. I really like Luque. And the thing about Luque is, Marcel, he has so many ways to win the fight. He's so dangerous everywhere. Like he's got great striking. He's got a great submission game. His wrestling's not great, but it's getting better. No, that's the one part of his game. And that's the part, obviously, the line is close because of the wrestling. And there's no doubt that Belal's got good wrestling. We've seen that in the last couple of fights. It's possible Belal could just grind him out, but I don't know, man. I mean, 5 rounds with Luque. He's never got a gas tank issue. He's always coming forward, always dangerous. He's always in wars. He's not really a guy that's very easy to finish. He's never been finished in the UFC. I don't know if he's ever been finished. The guy, I think earlier in his career, he's been submitted. So, but the guy is just an absolute beast and a savage, and I think he just kind of, it turns into a bit of a war here and he just kind of finishes him, Marcel. And I'm with you in that, like, it could go either way because this guy, honestly, here's the crazy thing. So he fought Nico Price twice, right? He submitted him the first time, then he knocked him out the second time. So he knocked out Belal. Will he try to submit him this time? Be interesting, right? A different way to finish. I think he probably knocks him out, Marcel.
Yeah, same.
I like Luque, guys. I think he wins the fight. I really like him here, and I'm glad the line's like this low. I'm not saying Belal has a path to victory with the wrestling. There's no doubt about it. But I think Luque's made so many improvements to this game. He's only 30 years old too. He's right in his prime. I mean, they both are their prime basically, but I like Luque so much more. So he's one of my favorite guys in the UFC right now. I think he's so exciting. Just a great fighter, and I think he wins the fight. I think he gets a stoppage. So I'm with you, Marcel, on that one. And Joe says he likes Belal. I understand. I mean, he's got some good wrestling. There's no doubt about it. 3 round I like Belal, 5 round I'm not sure. I like Luque, especially with the 5 rounds, actually. Sleeve and Belal, Luque, but not on decision. That's why I like too, buddy. Hope Belal gets knocked out. Not a fan. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but like, don't look at fights like that. Don't try to take your emotions in them. Look at them neutrally, And neutrally, I think Luque is just a better fighter. So that's my thoughts on this one. That's it for UFC Vegas 51. We got actually we're a little bit over time, but we'll quickly talk about Bellator, Marcel, really quickly. We'll get your thoughts on the top 2 fights. AJ McKee is taking on Patricio Pitbull again, -310. AJ McKee +255 on Pitbull. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I think it was a necessary rematch in my opinion, and not because of the fight, but because of Patricio Pitbull has been such a good guy for Bellator. He's been champion for a long time, was a double champion. I think he deserved the rematch, not based on the fight, but based on who he was or is. McKee looked super good so far. He's really homegrown Bellator fighter. He fought all fights for Bellator. Really big talent. Honestly, man, I think McKee wins again, man. But we'll see what happens. I'm not sure, but I think McKee wins again. And wonder what's going to happen then, man. Maybe he challenges his brother for the lightweight title. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. The odds are different, obviously. I mean, the first fight was basically pick him. Now you got 3-1 favorite. I get it. I mean, he smashed him pretty quickly. I do think the stoppage, I thought it was a little quick at the time, It's hard to go against AJ McKee, it is. But Patricio Pitbull is the best fighter Bellator probably ever developed. Him and Michael Chandler, right? So you can't sleep on Pitbull, Marcel. You can't sleep on him. It would not surprise me if he won this fight. And they set up a trilogy fight. But I got to go with AJ McKee for the pick. The other title fight, obviously, is Vadim Nemkov versus Corey Anderson, light heavyweight title. Vadim Nemkov plus -160, +130 Corey Anderson. I want to hear your thoughts on this one, and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, first of all, can Corey Anderson stop with saying that he's the best light heavyweight if he wins this fight in the world? Doesn't make sense to me. Corey Anderson has been doing good so far in Bellator, right? I think it's just perfect. He went to Bellator. Bellator respects him. He respects Bellator, and he does very well so far. I gotta tell you, man, when he fought Yakshimuradov, I was kind of like Yakshimuradov might beat him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But he looked so good, and yeah, he looked so good in that fight that I was like, if somebody's gonna beat Nemkov, might be Corey Anderson. You know what I mean? And he did look good against Bader as well. So there's a good chance he can beat Nemkov. Still, Nemkov's super solid. I really like to do it, so I'm still taking Nemkov in this one. But I think this will be the toughest test for Nemkov so far in the Bellator.
It's a tough fight to call, I think, man. I think Corey Anderson's looked phenomenal in Bellator. Like, he's really surprising how good he's looked. Nemkov's great too. You know what's crazy? So Nemkov has a win over, I believe, what's his name, Yuri, right, Marcel?
Yeah.
And Corey's got the win over Glover. So honestly, like, I don't think it's completely wrong if the winner of this fight says they're the best light heavyweight. You know, I know they're not in the UFC, but they do have a win over the top two guys. You know, so it's interesting. I know obviously those guys have improved now since then. You know, especially Yuri. I'm gonna go with Corey Anderson, Marcel. Let me take Corey Anderson. I'm gonna go with the upset here, Marcel.
Okay, yeah, it's possible. It's very
yeah,
possible.
He's really improved his striking, and I think the grappling is really good too. Phil Davis, he gave him some issues with the grappling in that last fight. I think Corey's like changed, man. I think he's gotten better. Now, obviously, Demkov could win, but the odds are close for a reason. I think people are giving Corey respect, so I'll take the upset. Let's go with a different one here. Let's do it. Let's get these last couple comments. Seeing some people say McKee wins. Yeah. Why would Corey say that? Did beat Glover? So I agree. I mean, I'm with you, Born again. He has the win. And same with Nemkov is a win over Yuri. So I don't think it's completely wrong. Although they're on the UFC. Appreciate that, man. Let's get out of here, Marcel. Plug yourself. Let's go.
Big Marcel 24 on Twitter, Instagram as always. And on the Eurosport.nl, the mixed martial arts section. That's basically it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys tuning in today. It was a lot of fun, obviously, as usual. We'll see how the picks go, but it's crazy. Me and Marcel had a couple dog picks that were consensus. Like, again, I have no idea who Marcel picks. We don't talk about it before. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like, hey, Marcel, who are you going to pick on the show today? Because I know a lot of people do that. I want to come here with honest thoughts, so it's cool. You guys can follow me on Twitter at MMAOB podcast, MMAOddsbreaker.com. It's on our YouTube channel, as you guys know. It's on iTunes, Spotify, all those places. As well, I'm at bookies.com. My best bets out tomorrow. Been doing really good on those lately. MyMainNews.com, of course, MMAOddsbreaker.com. Have a great weekend, everyone. Enjoy the fights, and we'll be back Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern next week to recap this card. Peace.